to another video. Purple Political Talk here, and today we're going to be going through the 2020 presidential election. And specifically, we're going to be filling in the map as for a prediction. So I'm going to start in by filling our safe states. And before we begin, I just wanted to say that for this prediction, I'm going to be factoring in the VP nominees for each respective party. And at this point in time, it's looking like it's going to be Kamala Harris. It could be Suzanne Rice or a very wild card pick. But if it looks like it's going to happen, what will happen at this point in time, we will be seeing Kamala Harris be the VP nominee for Joe Biden. And I'm just going to say the biggest factors that have shifted the electorate in the last couple of days would definitely be, one, the Tulsi rally. That just shows how Trump supporters are they're fanatics of Donald Trump, and they're very diehard fanatics. And all of that really rubs on people, whether it be positively and makes them want to go vote for Donald Trump, or negatively and making one of them to get out of those people's sight and go vote for Joe Biden. And honestly, we're going to be seeing big effects from the beginning of rallies and the treatment of all these different things that are happening currently in the news cycle. And guys, honestly, the news right now is pretty heated, and it's never unbiased. It's always biased, with a few exceptions of very good journalism sources that have good information and very bipartisan or unbiased information. Because for example, if you turned on Fox News, everything you're going to see is Donald Trump favoring Donald Trump. When you turn on CNN, fully anti-Trump content. So at this point in time, that is one big thing that we're going to be seeing, and it's pretty much the info wars. Wars are not being fought domestically between different states, or they're not being fought like a civil war. It's information. The way that information is getting from one place to the other, that is the current war we're living in this country. And it will become an issue because then very big important facts are going to be neglected because of this misinformation. Nonetheless, let's get started with this prediction. And looking at where Donald Trump has gained some ground, and I'm going to do another video tomorrow or today maybe, that we're going to be looking at exactly where is the Donald Trump campaign possibly going to be able to jump forward when it comes to maybe October or November. But anyways, it's just our filling states. Biden-Harris ticket, these states would be in the likely column. The ones that I've always put in the likely column. And I think it's every state that Hillary Clinton won in a competitive race, I guess, except the state of Minnesota. I would leave that for later on. And these states, honestly, just Joe Biden by himself has really good appeal with the type of voters they have to appeal in these states. In the states of Virginia and Colorado, you really have to appeal to your suburban voters. In Nevada and Colorado, you have to support and appeal to Latino voters. And in the state of New Hampshire, it's a very big small town appeal. So for that reason, Joe Biden has a kind of a lot of those three down in the bag. And maybe the Latino vote support is not as strong for him. And he still has some Latino support that's not there for him. But with a little push from Kamala Harris, they could get a substantial amount, making it enough to be at least 5 points. This point in time, these states are looking like they will be from 5 to 10 points. And it really does depend on best case scenarios. And at this point in time, honestly, Donald Trump can make these competitives, but possibly not win only one of them, which I think out of these 4 states, the most likely for Donald Trump to win is the state of New Hampshire. The rest are possible, but likely and most likely is probably the state of New Hampshire, just for the fact that he has very good appeal there, and he narrowly lost in 2016. And now, we see that these are the states that are going to the likely Democratic column. Now, what's going into the likely Republican column? At this point in time, we can say states like Texas, Georgia, and even states like Iowa at this point. They're going to be in the likely column. And the reason I say this is that this push from the Trump campaign to have very big amounts of people and all these different things against the coronavirus and things like that, in the sense that people are tired of being quarantined. People are tired of having to go everywhere with a face mask. those voters in those areas really resonate with that, just for the fact that these areas, a lot of this these states, most of the states part are rural. So, and a lot of the big vote chunks are from rural areas. And that really helps out Donald Trump because it's pretty much just getting out his message. And I mean, exciting the base is one very important thing. And with these rallies that he's planning, that is one thing he's doing stupendously, which would, at the end of the day, help him out in the long term. So if the elections were held today, so this is what an election prediction is. These states, I think, Iowa and Georgia could definitely go into the lean column, possibly if the elections were held today. Texas would be locked in for Donald Trump in the likely column. Yes, these states will be competitive, but competitive does not mean narrow. Because realistically, remember, competitive could be a state like South Carolina. Democrats get close, but there's no way in any way that they could go out and win that state. Now, with the states that are left, we're going to be seeing some interesting flips. And honestly, I think all of this is helping out Donald Trump. And I think I'm going to talk about this more in my analysis video when I looked what are the things that could happen from here to November. But I'm just going to tell you that the biggest thing that'll probably change is Donald Trump is going to go pretty far to the left when it comes to social issues and rebuilding the economy. He's going to give out tax credit to those people that go on vacations. He's going to be giving tax credit to those who are getting loans and are paying their bills and things like that. Because that's a way to restart the economy, and that's what they need. So I think, honestly, with the economy already almost up to its feet, we're going to be seeing Donald Trump do very well in these areas that rely heavily on the economy, and that's usually what most of the one issue voters in these states vote for. It's the economy. So moving on, let's go to our lean Democratic states. I mean, at this point in time, I see the state of Minnesota being lean Democratic, and the state of Arizona being lean Democratic, and I feel like these things are changing. I'm not going to say that Donald Trump has an absolute guaranteed victory as of now. But when we get closer to election day, we're going to be seeing some of Joe Biden's, I guess, bad sides in the sense of a politician come out. Whether it be in the debates or just running ads and things like that. We're going to be seeing the more negative aspects of Joe Biden as a politician, just with charisma and things like that. If you have Harris, maybe she can make a push and things like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, voters not vote for the vice president. And there's very few who do. The majority of voters simply vote for president. They don't care who's vice president. I mean, they do, but it's not a big impact on their choice. And with someone like Joe Biden, probably not having the same charisma, and I think, honestly, whether you're Republican or a Democrat, I am unbiased. I'm just going to say, from here, June 20-something, that Joe Biden is going to have a hard time in the debates. Donald Trump is a pretty good debater, and he's a good speaker. When you compare it to Joe Biden, who's kind of sometimes sleepy, I guess, in the sense that sometimes when you ask him a question, the media asks him a question out of nowhere, like randomly, he does not always have answers. For that reason, I think that's going to be one of the biggest effects on the Biden campaign. Other than that, he has a lot of big bases excited nationwide, whether it be in Florida, North Carolina, the Rust Belt, and things like that. Still, Donald Trump will probably have a comeback. These two states, I would put them in the lean column just because they have very high vote margins right now. And by the time, I mean, Donald Trump is already making comebacks in these states. States like Arizona and Minnesota are probably not going to go. They still do have a chance, and they're going to fall into the competitive standpoint. There's two types of competitive. The realistically tight and narrow races, such as the tilt races, compared to the competitive races that are going to be within the margin of being likely or lean, but at the end of the day, there's no chance for the other candidate. Arizona and Minnesota are probably not going to go for Donald Trump, and I think this same thing will be happening in the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan has some advantages for the Republican Party, especially when it comes to the economy. But at the end of the day, there's way more issues that people from Michigan are worrying about. And I think, honestly, that's going to be something that's going to be looked at But at the end of the day, as we get closer to election day, we're going to be seeing what these people are valuing more, whether it be the healthcare or the economy. That's what we're going to be seeing. Now we're going into our Republican lean states. And at this point, I think there's just one and two districts. State of Florida is looking like it might be able to go back to the Republican Party in presidential year. So, why am I saying this? It's simply for the fact that the state of Florida, it has different types of population, and it's a very diverse state. But considering that there's very heavy, I guess, Republican support in northern parts of the state, and even southern parts of the state, which are a little bit more diverse, like in areas like Tampa, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale, those areas in Florida that are very diverse, they're getting a lot of support for Donald Trump. That could be a little bit, they could be offset by the older voters who are voting for Joe Biden. But that just pretty much means that they kind of cancel out each other. And we're going to see a similar margin of victory like we saw in 2016. And looking at the rest of these two districts, I mean, I've always been saying that these districts are going to be pretty solid for Donald Trump. Yeah, Maine has a little bit closer. And Nebraska is also pretty close. But at the end of the day, they're kind of going to end up going to Donald Trump. And as of right now, let's just go into our tilt states. It's going to be the state of Wisconsin for the Democrats, the state of Pennsylvania for the Democrats, and the state of North Carolina for the Democrats. These three states are currently in that limbo where Donald Trump could easily get enough support to push him over the top, but right now it's not looking like he has enough momentum to get there. When he starts holding more rallies and things like that, we could probably see something more, just more in their favor. But as of today, not seeing it. Yes, there is big support for Donald Trump in some of these areas. And yes, there's probability that they're going to grow. And especially when the political defects of Joe Biden start coming out. But right now, it's not looking pretty good for him. And Joe Biden has a very strong roots in these states in the Rust Belt. As well as Kamala Harris, who has very good support among the African American community because she is black. And the black vote is something that matters in American elections. For Democrats, if the black voters, if they stay home, they're not winning an election. And it's just simply math. Probability and analytics. And you can look at it, and turnout really does matter. And when it comes to turnout in different areas, that's what really does matter. Because let's say you have all your African American base, like 85%, which is very high turnout among the African American community, go out and vote in North Carolina. Yeah, that might be great. You might win the state of North Carolina. But then if you have pessimal turnout among African Americans in areas like, for example, Georgia, where you have like only 10%. I mean, that's not realistic, but if it were to happen, you would see blowout margins for Donald Trump in that state. So that's what really does matter. And for that reason, I think that African American base is not yet fired up for the Democrats in the state of Ohio. Right now, I mean, all of these states, if you're looking at it as a completely media and polls, yeah, Joe Biden will be winning by a big margin, just simply by the fact that he's winning in the polls because the polls haven't been taken after all these things. And I'm just going to come out and say that there is a very high chance that silent majorities come into play into this election. I will talk about more of that in my analysis video. But at the end of the day, that's going to be a major fact. And honestly, this election is going to be close. For some point in time, we could have seen a very close race, almost narrowly 269. And now, we're easily seeing it. It went very far for Joe Biden. We were almost seeing best case scenarios type of percentages in polls and different things. And now we're kind of starting coming back down to lean Biden instead of being likely Biden. And all of these things will have effects politically. And there are many factors that I think each campaign will focus on. And at the end of the day, this election will be close. My final prediction for today is Donald Trump at 234 and Joe Biden at 304. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And if you're not yet so, remember, there's a couple of days left until our giveaway is completely done. And if you're not yet signed up and want to win a $25 gift card, please go sign up and subscribe so we can keep on doing these giveaways. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.